What up? What it do? What it don't? Welcome to it. We back. My favorite number, 11. Episode number 11. Here we are again. Today I'm going to do things slightly different. Reverse order a little bit. We're going to do the Q&A to kick it off, and then I'm going to go into just like some trending topics, some stuff that I've noticed maybe in the community lately, and just some like general storylines that we're going to touch on. But let's get started with the Q&A. The first two I'm starting with are actually from a couple weeks ago that I didn't get to answer. So, kick it off with an easy one, dude. Favorite article of clothing? I have a lot. I mean, like, I like fashion in general for the most part, Not too crazy, but like, I get into it. I would say favorite article of clothing always has been what you got on your feet, The I've always liked sneakers, I've always liked shoes. So it's got to be my shoes, man. Shoes would complete the ensemble. I've always been a fan of like statement piece with the shoes. The rest of it just kind of simple for the most part. But yeah, it's got to be shoes, man. Shoes just really are the cherry on top of the fit. So I got to go with shoes. A great pair of boots is an essential. I've got a good bit of sneakers that I kind of rotate through. I've said before, I think Vans are just like my immediate go-to. I train in Vans all the time. And yeah, I just got a little rotation. I always got, and then, I've got these like shower shoe, Crocs 2.0 things that I just like rock almost all the time. Are they ugly? Yes. Do I love them? Yes. So, yeah, it's got to be the favorite article of clothing. For the next one, what is my favorite bodybuilding memory? And this is hard. I have a lot. I have a lot that I like. A lot that stick out to me. Probably, I've got like two that stick out immediately. I've got a bunch that stick out immediately, but the first one that comes in my head was like the moment that I realized I liked bodybuilding. It was like the moment. My first ever show and my first ever prep was like this men's physique show for this natural organization. And I remember stepping up and getting into my back shot and just hearing everybody go kind of nuts. Man, it was such a cool feeling, like hearing a little uproar from the crowd. And, all of my family and friends are being super loud. And then turn to the back and do that back shot, and like everybody gets super loud. I'm like, man, that was a cool feeling. And I think it's what kind of cemented me in realizing that, like, dude, I really like this. This is really neat. As my favorite, though, it's probably not my favorite. It might be like the most decisive because that was the moment that I realized that I love it. All of my other favorite memories were coming from watching my clients win. And I've got a bunch of them to think of, we stacked up a lot of class wins at this point. And just the most recently at the class series and watching Tilly win all of her classes was really cool. And a really big show. Like there's classes A through F, I think, at that show. And she won both her open and her novice class. So those are some of my favorite memories for sure. I had a kid win overall in his novice. I mean, she won overall in novice too, and just seeing all the hard work culminate in this one moment, and the look on the face of my athletes whenever they're calling out fifth through first, and they're the last one they're standing in line after they call second, and they just, in that moment when it hits them and they know that they won, such a gratifying feeling. My adrenaline goes through the roof. I probably have like 180 beats per minute on my heart rate whenever those moments are culminating. It's such a good feeling. It's such a good feeling. I'll never ever get tired of that. No matter what level it's at. It could be some little local show, it could be at a national show, just doesn't matter. It's like those are my absolute favorite moments. So recently was Talia winning out. That was really really cool. I can't put into words how those moments make me feel. Um, who doesn't like to win, you know? So those are probably the immediate ones, and especially like through that first show and my first prep, it was like I got to feel like what it was like to go through a prep. That was brutal. I never experienced anything like that, and cutting down that low when grinding through those last 6 weeks or so of just being tired, depleted, all to get up there and to win. Great feeling. Great feeling. Yet again, who doesn't like to win? Um, this one is interesting. Least favorite trends or beliefs in the bodybuilding community. So there's quite a few. There's quite a few. I would say the immediate thing that sticks out is not necessarily a trend, but more of a belief that there's a lot of people, a lot of kind of coaching camps that put a little bit too much weight into uncertainty of, well, if we do this, if it works, we do this. It bothers me whenever evidence is not put to the forefront of whatever you plan. You also have to realize in hypertrophy training, in like response to certain supplements that you put in for people, in response to food, everyone is a little bit different, of course. But that doesn't mean you can just like BS the whole thing and train like an idiot, eat like a fool, and like think you're going to get these super high level results. There's things that we do know. Time under tension, how long that, essentially saying how long does that set last, intensity within training, and then there are proper set and rep ranges to live within. But this whole like overkill of volume, 5 to 6 to 7 working sets of training, and especially when it's laid out by a coach, I'm like, boy, you gotta go get into books, man, because that's pretty negligent, and it shouldn't be coaching people if that's what you're prescribing. The other piece of that is, the focus on, and for legal reasons, I gotta say this every time, man. I'm not a doctor. Not telling you to take drugs. I will never tell you to take drugs. Don't do drugs. In bodybuilding, it's very prevalent, and that's got to be understood. In drug-focused bodybuilding, that you feel like you have to absolutely go pedal to the metal with these drug plans for young people, especially who, one, maybe can't even really afford to do it in the first place, and two, man, like, you know, realize what your goals are. Don't put a client on drugs because you feel like it's going to get you results quicker. Think about their life. Think about their longevity in the sport. If you want to be a great bodybuilder, you have to be bodybuilding for quite some time. You can't you can't just think that you're going to be great in a couple of years. It's just not how it works, man. It might work that way for like 0.01% of the population. It does not work that way for most people. So there's got to be a thought of longevity there. I've had multiple times people reach out about coaching, and the first thing they bring up is, "Hey, do you write cycles? Hey, do you do drug plans? Do you know what you're doing whenever it comes to pharmacology?" And the answer is like, "Yeah, I know what I'm doing." But if that's the first thing that you bring up, I do not want you on my roster. And probably you shouldn't be bodybuilding at all. There's so many just like gym bros that are just blasting gear just cause. And dude, who cares, man? No one cares if you're just walking. No one cares that you're walking around just looking jacked. It means little to nothing in the grand scheme of things, especially if it's like drug induced. If you've achieved a great physique naturally, that's amazing because it takes a lot of hard work, a lot of dedication. If you decide to go on PEDs, I would just hope that you are, one, like some form of professional athlete, or two, you're trying to bodybuild at a high level. And the drug focused coaching and athletes really bother me, man. Of immediately, it's okay, what can we put you on? All right, hey, I want you taking this, this, and this. Like, dang, man. Maybe get through a few weeks, a few months with this person. See how their body works first. See if they have the dedication, the intensity to push really hard in the gym before you introduce anything like that. Now, if you're talking about you want to be a really high level bodybuilder, okay, it's maybe something a little bit different, especially if someone's done a cycle or two or three or four or eight before. But immediately pushing that on somebody whenever the goal is to be a great bodybuilder, that's not bodybuilding. Bodybuilding is training and eating and sleeping. And then whenever it comes to your like the drugs, it's an enhancement. There's a reason you say like enhanced versus natural athletes. It's an enhancement. Is it important to be high level? Probably. Yeah. Yeah, for 99.9% of the population, it's going to be really important. But the fact is that that does not make or break you by any means. It's you have to be pushing progression, whether you're blasting, whether you're cruising, whether you're on HRT, whether you're completely natural. You have to be able to push progression, and that only happens in the gym with your intensity, and that only happens in the food. Outside of that, it just doesn't happen. So, um, well, I mean, it's not that it doesn't happen. It just it's not going to happen because of drugs. It's going to be happen because of the former. But the drugs come into play whenever you're trying to become really high level. So I don't like the focus that gets put on that stuff. It's dangerous for a person's mental health. It's dangerous for a person's physical health. And overall, it's just bad practice. So I would highly suggest against straying away from highly suggest straying away from coaches that maybe push you in that direction, or coaches, man, athletes that immediately just talk about drugs, and maybe you get all excited because you think you can get a cool transformation out of a person because they're willing to do some stuff that other people aren't. I don't. This is not a good place to start. The person's going to burn out, fizzle out really quickly. It's expensive too, so like that's got to be realized. Overall, that's a really bad look. I don't really see I don't really see like a bright future for anybody whose focus is just like what type of cycle they're going to be taking. Yeah, it's you're going to fizzle out really quickly if you don't have the intensity. Without that, you ain't got it. As far as like trends go, I don't see a lot of like really bad trends. Maybe like in bodybuilding specifically, maybe more of like social trends. I see a lot of like God complex type of personalities that come out of bodybuilding. Some of the people that I've met some mostly amazing people in bodybuilding. Like I've met some really good people, and really some of my closest friends I've met through that community. And there's overall it's a good community. The the latter half of it where there's definitely some ego issues, like walking around being bigger than the next guy, it shouldn't mean anything to you, man. It goes back to that thing that I talk about, ashes to ashes. It's not gonna last forever. You're gonna get old one day, and then once you can't be big and jacked, like what are you gonna do? Keep pushing it until your heart explodes at 50? Like come on, man. This is not where we want to be as a community. You look at guys like Dorian Yates who pushed the envelope about as high and as hard as you can. The first real mass monster, right? Stepping on stage in the mid 200s, like an incredibly large human being who won multiple Mr. Olympia titles and was at the top of the game. He did this through extremely intense training, tons of food. Of course, he's pushing cycles, but whenever he was done, he was done. He was done. He's in great shape. He looks good, but he lost all that muscle mass. I'm sure he walks around 40, 50 pounds lighter than he was when he was on stage. And good. That's how it should be, man. Let your foot off the gas and just realize that this is not forever, and it shouldn't be forever. It's an extreme sport, so like don't think that that's going to be you for the rest of your life. If genetically you've got good shape, you look at like Dexter Jackson. I mean, dude competed till he's 50. Till he's 50 years old. Looked incredible the whole time. Placed very highly at shows, all the way into being 50 years old. Then when he stopped competing, yeah, he lost the muscle mass, some of it, most of it probably, but like he looks great. Looks great. Dude's got big arms, nice full chest, and looks solid. He looks solid. But he decided it was time. Hang it up. Hang the cleats up, man. Lose some of the mass. Focus on being healthy. Especially, man, you've got family and stuff like that. I think the ego comes into play a little too heavily, and it can be really harmful. It can be really harmful down the road, health wise, mental health wise too. Remember, like you are not who you are neck down. That's not you. You are who you are neck up. Like your heart, your soul, your mind. This is who you are as a person, and the rest of it, it'll fade eventually. Try to make the most of it while you can, of course, while you have the youth to practice these extreme measures of pushing the body to a high level. Go for it. I think it's badass. I think it's really cool. But don't think that you're better than anybody else because of it. You're not going to be remembered in any like positive light. Anybody who I've ever heard, I've never met him, but anybody who's ever met Jay Cutler, one of the greatest bodybuilders of all time, they've I've never heard someone utter a bad word about Jay Cutler ever. Everyone's like, he's the sweetest guy. He's such a nice guy. He's so down to earth. He's so genuine. This guy has all the money in the world. This guy has all the accolades in the world. And he's going to treat you like a normal person because he's a normal person and he realizes that. If you start like making yourself out into something that you're not, dude, it gets dark. I've met some people. I've met some really high level people in the industry, and I was like, ooh, man, it's just hard. It's hard getting around the personality sometimes. It's like I don't feel like I'm conversating with a normal person anymore. Like we're on a different level. Like I feel like you're like it's almost like playing a character. It's odd. Last one, good one, great one. Cartoon starting five. Point guard through center, 1 through 5. Top five. Top five. Starting five. Cartoon characters. Easy. Easy number one. You ever watch Space Jam? Bugs Bunny, dog. Bugs Bunny was the Pippin to the Jordan in that movie. Okay? Bugs Bunny can straight up hoop. The thing is, he can move. He's nimble. He's got the speed. He's a slasher. He's gonna hit the lane. What I expect out of Bugs is a lot of dive and dish. Hit the lane, suck down the perimeter defenders, find our three, find our two on the wing, and just absolutely. He should be Bugs Bunny's that 12 and 10 guy, right? 12, 10, and 8, right? He's putting up 10 assists a game. Very very prime Chris Paul esque, Bugs Bunny. Bugs Bunny, easy at my one. At my two, man, the two is tough. The two is tough. Um, but I think what we do at the two is we go with a little bit of size, and we go with a shooter. Man, I'm going Shaggy. Shaggy's gonna be my two. Shaggy, not aggressive, right? He's not going to be banging in the paint. That's all right, though. We've got Bugs to drive the paint, okay? And wait till we hit the 5. Once we hit the 5, you'll understand why I don't need a 2 to slash. Shaggy's lanky. He's tall. He's going to be on the outside. That's my wing guy, right? He's my catch and shoot specialist. He plays good defense on the perimeter for sure. Not too worried about him in the paint whatsoever. He's a little undersized. Yeah, Shaggy's probably 6'3", 160, okay? But the thing is, he's got range. Shaggy shoots from deep. I expect Shaggy to knock him down from 4-point range. All right, Harlem Globetrotters-esque Shaggy. He's going to be knocking down the deep ball. He's going to be the guy that's going to be like 22 and 3. You know what I mean? He's dropping 22. He's maybe dropping an assist or two a game. If they close out on the perimeter really quickly, he's dishing to the corner. He's dishing to the post. Shaggy, that's my 2, no doubt. Once we start talking about the 3, this is where things get a little bit tricky. Initially, what comes in my head, Martin the Martian. But the thing with him is he's just going to be very undersized. He's a shooter, as you know. But with is it Martin or is it Marvin? Martian, the Martian, Martin or Marvin? You know what I'm talking about, Marvin the Martian? Is that what it is? He was the initial. Okay, Marvin, Marvin the Martian. I thought maybe how I'd have him at my three, but no, I'm gonna go right back to Space Jam. What's it, the Tasmanian Devil? Taz, right? Taz the Tasmanian Devil is gonna be my three. A little undersized, I know, but he is causing absolute chaos. He is a nightmare on the court. You want to talk about defense? You are not blowing by Taz. You're not blowing by Taz whatsoever. He's going to set hard picks. He's probably going to foul out. And if anybody, he's like that. He's like my Draymond Green. Okay, he's like my Marcus Smart. Okay, he's in there. He's gonna draw fouls. He's gonna rile the other team up. You know, he's gonna get in your head. He's gonna end up with a technical. He might end up with a flagrant two and get kicked out of the game. But Taz is going to absolutely wreak havoc. Okay. Um, Scoring potential, I see him inside. You know, he's probably got a little bit of a mid-range game. I can see him knocking down some elbow jumpers, but no doubt he's banging in the paint. He's drawing fouls. That's the thing. Jimmy Butler style offense. He's going to be drawing fouls. He's going to be driving the paint, and maybe I think he's a finisher. He's a finisher. He's going to end up with multiple and ones, but he's going to be grabbing boards. He's going to be position. His positioning's incredible. He's boxing anybody out that gets in front of him. Period. He's putting bodies on bodies. Okay. Taz is him. Taz is my three. The four is where it gets tricky. I'm gonna skip over the four and I'm gonna go right to the five. I'm gonna come back to the four because I know who my five is. Maybe the easiest pick, my boy Yogi Bear. Like, I'm gonna give y'all why because I feel like it's important for you to understand the thought process. But you don't even really have to think about it. Yogi Bear, bro. He's a bear. All right, post work is ridiculous. The only comparable center was the most dominant center of all time, Shaquille O'Neal. Okay, that's who he is. No one is going to be able to body him. No one's got the height. No one's got the strength. It's too much. He doesn't have to be a stretch five. He doesn't have to. He is straight up posting up and he's going up hard every day. He finishes. He finishes. I'm gonna be straight up. I'm running my offense through Yogi. Okay, that's just how it's gonna be. The game plan is, we're gonna set hard off ball picks with Taz. Bugs is gonna crash the lane, dish out to Shaggy on the wing, and then as soon as the perimeter defense gets sucked down, you know straight where we're going. Low post, Yogi Bear, and then left hand lay off glass, bucket. Maybe, and one. Yogi's probably more of like a 50% free throw shooter. I'm not gonna lie. He's not gonna be a pure free throw guy by any means, but he's a menace down there. There's 5 blocks a game too. He is swatting shit in the paint, volleyball spiking shots. Incredibly athletic. If you just look up how fast bears are too, I think 30 plus mile an hour is where they run. So he runs the court. Transition game, off the charts. Imagine Bugs, Taz, and Yogi running transition. It's 130, 140 point games, easy. And then you got to worry about Shaggy out there on the wing, and just like nothing but net. Now the four is wherever I get jammed up a little bit. The four I can get jammed up a little bit. This one I've got so many options. And the first one that came to my head was who? Squidward? A Squidward, dude. Squidward's a great pull for four. I'm not gonna lie. The only thing I'm worried about with Squidward is gonna hurt team morale a little bit. Every single time he's on the bench, he's like, "I'm not getting the ball," and everyone's like, "Dude, shut up. We got Yogi banging the paint. We're winning." Squidward's go pull. He's got all those limbs. He's getting hands on everybody. He's grabbing Rees like crazy. But the one that I probably put in there over Squidward would be Popeye. It'll be Popeye. Popeye's a Popeye's a dog. All right, and he's an enforcer. Very, very strong. Look up tallest cartoon characters. I'm thinking Popeye, but I'm trying to see what's going to come up to me. What's coming off the dome here? Popeye is what comes off the dome. Strong. I think he's great for morale. Same type of with Taz. He's going to end up with a flagrant or so, but he's going to be in the other team's head. He's going to be in the other team's head, and he's got that Intimidator gold badge with those forearms. And dude, he's smoking a pipe on the floor. And I think he's always squinting. He's only using one eye, which might not be an advantage. But he could shoot like Larry Bird because that's what Larry did. He kind of shot off one eye, literally like he is shooting, like shooting a gun. He would use one eye. Who we got? He's not. That's false. Also, Caillou would never make my team. Little crybaby ass. She said Caillou's 5'11". Caillou's a child. Caillou's 3'11". Oof, Big Bird. Big Bird. Wow. Big Bird over Popeye seems reasonable.
Come on, bro. Will.
Oh yeah, what's he from?
Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends.
Dude, Wilt, and his name's literally Wilt. Wilt Chamberlain. And he's got a sweatband on, doesn't he? Dude, okay. Well, I think I just stacked the team too much. No, I think it's a little unfair. We put Wilt from Imaginary Foster Home. What's it called? Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends. Well, I've probably seen an episode or two. Wilt, my boy, got the sweatband on. Dude, anybody with a sweatband and your name's Wilt, you're on the team. So let's do this. Wilt's down there at my 4. He's a stretch 4, no doubt. Okay, he's going to rise up mid-range, pop it over anybody at the top like it's a layup. He's got the shot from 3. He's probably more of like a 35% three-point shooter, but he's going to hit it if you leave him open. And he's got great post moves, incredibly athletic, runs well. And yeah, I'm talking about intimidation. Dude's scary. Dude is scary. Wilt is a player. Wilt is a guy, and we're gonna have him down there. Wilt and my boy Yogi Bear down low, deadly combo, absolutely deadly. So we're talking. So I'd go Popeye 6-man. Popeye is gonna come off the bench, okay, and Popeye is gonna fill in that 3-4 role whenever Taz just gets absolutely burnt because he is going to blow through some energy. Yeah, that boy is a absolute firecracker. The other one, here's another one that I didn't think of. That I'd say Popeye's starting to fall down the list for me because this didn't even come to my mind. Tigger, bro, Tigger would be him. Tigger. Here's the one thing we all know about Tigger. Tigger has a straight up 58-inch vertical. He is getting up. So let's go ahead and just drop Popeye off the roster. My six man's Tigger. Okay. He brings an absolute burst off the bench. He is going to be a nightmare to deal with. As soon as Taz just absolutely blows his battery, which is going to happen quickly, we get Tigger in there. And he is a ton of energy, and he can absolutely bounce, bro. So what happens is he turns into my Andre Iguodala, Jamal Crawford type player off the bench, where he is absolutely putting dudes on posters, spin cycles. He's got handles, and he's slashing. And he also plays great defense. He's Dwayne Wade style blocking. Okay, not the tallest, but he can jump. He can jump. So what that looks like, Bugs Bunny at the 1. Obvious pull. If you didn't say Bugs Bunny at the 1, you're missing. You've never watched Space Jam. 2, Shaggy, which I think is an absolute sleeper pick. A lot of people don't think about Shaggy up there because, they don't think he can hoop. Here's the thing. They're like, oh, he's timid. He's scared, right? Dude's fighting monsters and ghosts. Who wouldn't be? This is just basketball. Okay, he's a dog on the court. So Shaggy at the 2. My 3, Taz, causing chaos. Absolutely ripping the floor up. 4, Wilt, my boy. Big stretch 4. Popping mid range. And he's just a perfect complement to that big body Yogi Bear down low. All right, causing issues. And these guys run the court, man. These guys run the court. We're playing fast basketball. We're moving the ball a lot. There's going to be 5 to 7 dribbles per possession, maybe at most. We're passing. We're passing. We're passing. Till we find the open man, which most of the time is probably going to be Yogi down low. They're going to be all worried about Wilt stretching out. They're going to be worried about my boy Shaggy sitting on the wing, just knowing these guys can knock down shots. Bugs, if he's got to take it straight to the hole, he's going to. Taz is always going to be an issue, setting great off-ball screens, and his movement off-ball is just going to be incredible. And then, whenever Taz gets tired, whenever Shaggy needs a smoke break, or he needs to go gobble up a few Scooby snacks on the bench, bring my boy in. Bring my boy Tigger in. Tigger's knocking down deep range, and he's absolutely putting dudes on posters. Okay, so that's my starting 5 plus the 6 man of Tigger. I would challenge anyone to come up with a better starting 5 than that. If you can come up with a better starting 5 than me, you'll get a free pivot hat. How about that? Anybody that realistically can come up with a better starting 5, cartoon-wise. I'm not including Shonen Jump, okay? You cannot include any Dragon Ball Z characters, no Naruto characters. You can't do that, okay? I kept it straight up Cartoon Network out here, the way it should be, Looney Tunes, Warner Bros. Style. But if you're going out there and you're saying, oh, Goku and Broly, get out of here, dog. I would have done the same thing. But that's not what this is. We're talking cartoon characters. No Shonen Jump, no anime, all right? But yeah, if you can come up with a better starting 5, realistically, make a good argument for it, I'll get you a free pivot hat. How's that? Yeah, great. I think it's a great starting 5. An excellent starting 5 at that. Unbeatable, some might say. Taking on like the prime Jordan Bulls, probably. Bodying the 2015-16 Warriors, no doubt. All right, no shot. They've got no shot. All right, diving into at least a trending topic right now, and on a little bit sadder of a note. Unfortunately, there's one thing that gets people hurt and gets people killed more often than not. That's negligence. It's not caring to do something properly and then just going forward with it anyway. So Justin Vicky, if first off, massive condolences to all of his friends and family. He was 33 years old, I think, and dies in an absolute tragic accident of squatting somewhere in the 400 range, I think, and fails at the bottom of the squat. The bar rolls up his neck, breaks his neck, and kills him, which one of the worst pieces of this story is the fact that he had a spotter. And I'll get into that in a second. One, I tell all of my, and it's written in all of my programs that I send to all of my clients. Failure marks is important. You have to train to failure. You've got to know when to train to failure. You also have to know when not to train to failure. Okay? If I have a barbell squat in a program, it says in my notes, it does not make sense to go to absolute failure on a barbell squat, because that means that you cannot fully complete the last rep, which means if you're doing a barbell squat, you're going to crash to the ground. And that's just a big, massive possibility for injury there. You can push and leave a rep or 2 in the tank, but you've got to know when to stop. You've got to know when to stop. You got to know if the load is too much. You have to be aware of these things. And now I'm not putting any of the blame on Justin specifically in this case, because he's just trying to train hard, man. And I love that. That's what bodybuilding's about. I will put 100% of the blame on the spotter who won. I think he was the trainer. I'm not exactly sure. I listened to one of Goob's posts, and I'm pretty sure this guy was the head trainer of the gym, and he was this guy's trainer too. And he needs to straight up retire, like just drop off the face of the earth whenever it comes to training anybody ever again, because it's a pitiful excuse for uh, for taking care of your client for yeah, whatever. It's say it's a guy that just grabbed you to spot him in the gym. Don't ever be that guy. Don't ever be that guy who tries to spot a barbell squat using like a double overhand grip like it's a bench. If you can't shoulder raise the weight and hold it at the top, you never are going to spot a I don't even care if you can. That's not how you spot a squat. Okay. He was grabbing the outside of the bar in like a double overhand grip, or like he was like ghosting the bar like he was going to do so, rather than squatting down with the client, keeping your hands under the rib cage and chest to make sure you can support the weight on the way up if that's what you have to do. Having them go to this point of failure in the first place in a squat is already negligent. Unless you're like a power lifter and you really have to push these heavy one reps, it shouldn't happen. That shouldn't happen ever. I think in a barbell squat, you should know that you're going to get that last rep up. You should know for a fact that you're going to get that last rep up, or you shouldn't do it. Something went wrong in the technique, obviously, which caused this, which I would also put on whoever taught the person how to squat. And the other pieces too with this trainer, man, you should never be allowed to have another client. You should never be allowed to to be an employee in any gym ever. Ever. I know 15, 16-year-olds that know how to spot better because they were taught by some football coach that, worked out in the 80s. Like this has been known for decades of how to properly spot somebody whenever they squat, how to keep somebody safe under a barbell. Because it's not safe. It's not. Anytime you're loading up per the person's body weight, no matter what type of load it is, if it's heavy for them, it's dangerous. It just is. That's why everything has to be perfect. That's why in every client that I have, in every form review that we do, we talk about I will often tell my people in form review, hey, I'm being nitpicky here, but you could do this, this, and this. Take something that anybody might see that set and be like, that was a perfect set. It wasn't perfect. There's always something you can do 1 to 2% better to make it from good to great. And to further improve mechanics so you don't have to worry about getting hurt. Anytime you're training hard, there's always going to be risk. But the fact is that if you're watching this, if you're listening to this, anytime you're spotting somebody, take it seriously. Please take it seriously. If someone's under a bench press and they're pressing heavy weight and their barbell just stops moving, just grab the bar. Whether they're going to be mad or not, whatever, just grab the bar, help them to the top. If that person's upset about you doing that, if the bar actually stops moving, right? If that person's upset about you doing that, there's an ego issue. The fact is that you might have just saved them a peck, okay, from ripping off their rib cage. And then in the case of something like a heavy squat, we can clearly see that you could be saving someone's life literally by just spotting correctly, man. It's different if it's just some gym bro that maybe, hasn't been going long. They've never been taught how to spot properly. It seems like it would be common sense to spot that way, but apparently it's not. And apparently it's not for professionals in the industry either, which is horrific. Really sad. I didn't watch the video because I didn't want to watch the video. But I've heard about it over and over and over again. And yeah, man, you gotta screen your trainers, man. there's a lot of not so great people in this industry that make a lot of money off of training, off of coaching. They don't care about you. They care about their pockets. They might act like they care about you, but anybody that doesn't spot you properly, they don't care about you. That's absolutely pitiful, man. Negligent and sad, sad. You know, somebody loses their life over it. All I can hope is that this guy is that whoever was spotting him, the trainer in this case, was absolutely tore up from the inside out. It was a 210 kg squat, so what's that, like 430, something like that. Um, yeah, man, it's just it's just sad. It's sad. It's not safe. It's not safe to be working with those loads. Okay, you need to be extremely confident whenever stepping under a bar. And if you have someone pushing you in a direction that makes you uncomfortable, probably not a good idea. You should be very confident every time that you do any rep of any set of any exercise anytime. It's heavy, so yeah, it's scary. We were doing I was doing Smith squats at 5 plates a side a couple of days ago. It's scary, dude. It's scary. But the fact is, I knew I could do it. It's not going to be scary, but I have confidence that I was going to get every rep that I needed to. So that's the same type of confidence that you got to have whenever approaching any sort of exercise. Um, don't let anybody push you in a direction that you're not comfortable going. And if they do, that person should be fired for whatever position they're in, or it's just not a good. It's not a good. It's not a good accountability partner to have. Any type. I wouldn't call it accountability. It's just uh, just ego. Screen your trainers, man. Make sure that they're good people. Make sure that they care about you. Make sure that they care about you as a coach, as a trainer. You're doing stuff whenever you're training hard, whenever you're bodybuilding. All this stuff is dangerous. So make sure the person actually has an investment in who you are, in your health, and in your longevity. Because if they don't, it's going to be obvious, and you're going to get hurt. There's a lot of negligent bodybuilding coaches that have gotten people hurt. That have, in my opinion, have killed people. So you have to be cautious. Make sure you know who you're working with. If you're not comfortable with something, tell them. Tell your coach. Tell your trainer. Tell them. Okay. Well, that's it, gang. Hey, thank you for the questions. I do have two more from this last Q&A that I didn't get to, and we'll try to roll those back onto the next one. If anybody's got a better starting five than me in the cartoon characters, like I said, no superheroes, no Shonen Jump, not fair. If you've got a better one, let me know. Let me know. Otherwise, thanks for listening. I hate to end it on that note, but it is something that's really important to bring to the forefront. Like, you've got to know this stuff. It's safety is everything in the gym. If you're getting hurt, like, that's gonna set you back. So injury prevention is huge. A big part of like making gains and moving forward is going to be just not getting hurt. So know your body, and then know the person that's training you. Make sure that they're not an idiot. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. We're going to keep it rolling. Episode number 11. One day it's going to be episode number 111. Hope everyone's still liking it. Keep rocking, dude. Do whatever you is doing and do it the best that you can. Make sure you drop a like on there. Give me the thumbs up. Give me that subscribe if you haven't already. And yeah, appreciate everybody. We're going to keep the thing rocking, gang. Talk to y'all next time.